Dr. Jayant Khandare is an eminent research scientist and director of MIT School of Consciousness and Reality. He is a doctorate in chemical engineering from Mumbai University. He is highly recognized for his research in micromolecular chemistry, biopolymer science, stem cell biology, and other related subjects. He has been a guide to more than 30 research students. As a much sought after speaker in various national and international conferences, it is indeed a privilege to listen to Dr. Jayant Khandare. If you would like to watch more such quality videos, please subscribe to Vishwashanti Darshan, a channel dedicated to world peace. Please don't forget to press the bell icon.
Good evening. It's a great honor to be here at my own institute, MIT. So let me brief about what goes in research at MIT. And day before yesterday, my boss is Rahul sir. He asked me, how do we take this institute to top 10 institute? I hope this is not a personal private communication, but let me tell you that we have already begun a journey. We do not know how much we achieve that, but definitely we need to explore. And I'm very glad that this photograph was last February this February 2019, when one of my postdoc professor from US visited our own office. Khandare sir actually felicited him. And on the right hand side, if you see Suchitra madam over there and our group at MIT. So not many faculties are aware actually we have been doing wonderful work, and therefore probably Rahul sir felt that why don't we share here, and probably Dr. Pandey probably insisted on me being over here. Only after 20 minutes you will realize whether it was worthy to be over here or not. But we feel we have many collaborators around, and about 30 researchers actually have contributed into our group. We have got immense funding from Department of Biotechnology. On 18 September, actually, Department of Biotechnology in Delhi told me very honestly that they have blacklisted me in getting grants because I have got 11 number of research grants in my life. So thanks to public taxpayers' money for all the research that what we do, that's an acknowledgement. On right hand side, we have Dr. Shaswat, Dr. Yuvraj, our own student of 1999 pass out, some of our faculty from Pune University, NCL Pune. In center down line is Dr. Marcelo Calderon. And then on the right hand side today, we signed our first MIT patent with North Dakota University. And I have signed that papers today and will have first international patent from this university. I hope you will applaud for this. And it took a lot of time, lot of energy, because we will be actually evaluated for an outcome, and the outcome that I'm going to represent over here. Look into the invited talks that actually I gave recently last year. I was hopping from one university to other university, including Johns Hopkins, and talking about my presence in MIT Pune over here. And number 6 universities in 7 days of a time. And very lately, I think last Monday, 11th November, I gave a talk in Polymat, one of the finest institute in Spain who works in polymer therapeutics. And I was wondering how exemplary research goes in those countries. So my Honorable Khandare sir or Rahul sir, that there's a top-down model in these national institutes where government actually encourages funding, and we are a private institute. We'll have to think about whether we can reach what national institutes would actually achieve. And I think Jagdale sir would be the right person who have to take his thought actually how we reach ahead. We also have translated one of our technology from our School of Pharmacy to one other company, which is situated into one of my startup company, in taking one technology which is for the cholesterol detection as a point of care, and I'll share the story after a few years whether we succeeded or not. So the table of contents of my talk for next 18 minutes is I'm going to talk about a background of a cancer, and I'm going to state what actually WHO has stated into this booklet called as Global Cancer Data 2018. So let me put here straight onto the line. I'm not going to discourage any data. It doesn't come into my mind. It is straight from the WHO and Global Cancer and the Lancet that has got it. So be prepared to demotivate and worry about a life that what we are going to survive. I'm going to talk about how does cancer detection does take place and what's the historical background, past and current, and what is going to be the future of this dreaded disease. I'm going to talk about what is a worry in primary cancer and what are the realistic worries of the secondary cancers. There is a lot of misunderstanding that we must have a primary detection maybe at a birth level or post-birth level. You cannot unfortunately do anything. Even at a genetic level, you identify the markers or genes, and oncologist is not going to treat you even if we understand that somebody would have to have a cancer after 10 years or 70 years. So I'm going to actually overcome and talk about extravasation of a cancer. How does the cancer spread? What is the role of a circulating cancers in body? And why do 90% of the patient die because they do not actually come to the clinic with the symptoms? Why nature has designed our exit probably. We are talking about today existence. I'm going to talk about exit. How does actually nature has created our exit after we are born? And this is a contrasting endowment talk today itself. I'm going to talk about what does it take to bring into a clinical technology, and what was an objective actually when we started this circulating tumor cells detection as a liquid biopsy. And I was interviewed by Doordarshan, and they asked various questions. What is the motive of actually some researchers getting into a scientific problem? So very honestly, I said that, look, last 12 years I have not actually been into any channels of new channels what goes in this country. And I'm sure that what is going in this state today is probably more interesting than my talk for next 16 minutes, but definitely worthwhile to understand what does government feel about innovators, particularly into the line of importing medical devices. If you look at the figures that Niti Aayog actually suggests, we import about $6 billion of import material into medical devices. Indirectly, we do not create anything. So 80% of medical devices have been imported. So the part number one, cancer is definitely the king or the emperor of maladies. Statistics number one, developed countries, the morbidity of disease, deaths in cancer is extremely high. 23% in US and 25% in Europe. Is that a good news? It's a bad news. What is a good news for Indian population, Indian phenotype? We have only 9% of incidences of cancer. Is that as a great news? Yes, definitely, because we are a developing countries. The moment we transform from the developing country into developed country, the major cause of death would be actually the cancer. The choice is whether we want to be a developed country. In my own way, that let us be a developing country in our lifetime and not get it into the systems. So look into the global cancer data, which is little alarming. So 18.3 million cases were actually incidences in 2018. What was the mortality rate over there? More than 9 million people died in 2018 alone. That's a very high number. Look into the incidences of cancer in India. 1.2 million people had new cases, and about 0.8 million people were the morbidity, 60% was the mortality rate. And compared to the European and American data, 5-year survival is very, very low, about 30% over to 60%. Now, what is interesting and what is challenging over here, that every country has different methodologies of getting into the cancer. India actually persists into the head and neck cancer. We are short number one, and no other developed country does a research onto our problems. They discover what is actually their problem. If you look into the breast cancer and cervical cancer, the good news over there is that only 25 females get cancer in 1 lakh population, which is consistent since last several decades. And this number is very, very high in, say, UK, for example, more than 200 numbers. The best and finest country where I'm planning to have my next vacation is New Zealand and Australia, because I have been a global trotter for the long time. But remember, this beautiful country has highest number of cancer incidences, especially in New Zealand, which is 550 compared to 1 lakh population. So our population gets only 25 versus, almost 500,000. Unfortunately, it is disheartening to know that our best oncologists who work in this country, very predominantly in population, only 2,000 patients get one oncologist. And our best oncologists leave this country, go to Ireland, go to the UK. So the population versus oncologists is very dismal. So whatever going in this country is if you look at the Tata Memorial Hospital, do not, you need to be very strong to visit Tata Memorial Hospital, which I do almost every month, 2 times. The apathy of these patients is very, very bad. That's a case number 1 that I'm trying to talk. The company spin-off actually by me has been supported by taxpayers' money, because this objective of actually developing something and the health minister actually inaugurating this in a September is not a very short story.